We're joined now by Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas. Thanks so much, Mayor, for joining us. You have said that Ralph Yarl was shot because he was existing while black. Again, the man who allegedly pulled that trigger, Andrew Lester, was arrested just yesterday, but he was initially taken into custody days ago and was released. Has law enforcement handled this case properly?
I think we'll get into a further and deeper review as to the processes here. What I do know is that as soon as the case file was complete, several days after the shooting, there was an indictment. We have an arraignment today. We all have some disappointment that the defendant who had shot this black teenager twice was allowed to surrender himself to authorities yesterday. So indeed, there are a number of things that may seem a little bit different than normal processes, but I think it is too soon for us to be clear on what that is. I know the police department is willing to look at everything that happened here to make sure that we can prevent all of the circumstances that took place here from happening in the future. One, the incident itself. Second, in some ways, making sure there is clear communication to our public about the seriousness of this for the authorities. And then fundamentally making sure that a defendant like this is not at large for any number of extended hours when I and many others do consider him to be a threat to this community.
So the prosecutor said there was a racial component to this shooting. Should the charges reflect that?
Right now, I think there has been a request made to federal prosecutors to look at potential hate crimes charges. I agree with your last guest who noted that you don't want to overcharge. That sometimes can complicate cases. Here, there is a felony assault charge that carries a sentence as long as life imprisonment. There is also an armed criminal action. These are substantial charges that are going to the defendant. And I think that the evidence is likely to show that at the very least, the race of the victim, the race of Ralph Yarl, has a direct connection to ultimately being fired upon, seriously injured, and by the way, being shot twice. That, I believe, will be a very relevant and material fact for any jury making a determination here. It is preposterous to actually fire once through your locked screen door at someone who purportedly scares you, but twice after you shot him in the head the first time. That seems to be something that is wholly unreasonable and one that I think not only justifies the charges that are already issued, but perhaps subsequent hate crimes charges.
Yeah, the charges right now include first-degree assault and armed criminal action. Let me ask you this. I had a guest on my show yesterday who suggested if this suspect were black, he wouldn't have been taken into custody and then released, and believed essentially his story initially before these further charges were then filed, and he turned himself in yesterday. Do you agree with that?
I think that there are a few questions, one of which relates to the very voluntary nature with which the defendant has existed for the last 5 or 6 days. He came to talk to the police actually voluntarily, right? Was not compelled to come, was not compelled to speak in the first place back on Thursday night, the time of the incident itself. Voluntarily surrendering at a time of his choosing, although there was a warrant for his arrest issued shortly after the charges are filed. It seems as if, right, he is in some way a unique defendant, and I think many of us would say he should not be. Again, not getting ahead of myself, I think that the police department is working hard to give sufficient facts for this case. I know the prosecutor, and I have spoken to him, is going to work hard to make sure they prove up this case. But I think, and get a lot of people out there who are saying, this certainly seems different than people we may know who have found themselves in trouble in the criminal justice system, and at least in the early steps, found themselves confronted with far more difficulty, far more challenges than perhaps Mr. Lester has seen so far.
I know you spoke with Ralph Yarl's mother earlier this week, and you wrote on Twitter, I shared with her my personal commitment to ensuring we find justice for her son, her family, and all hurting now in our city. What is justice here?
Justice will be two different and distinct things. One, a conviction in this case and the charges that are filed. I think that is imperative. That's why I will give space to the prosecutor, to the police, to do the work that they must do. But second, and this is why I mentioned all hurting in our city, as your reporter noted, a lot of black people are saying, wait a minute, right? I can't drive while black is comfortably. Now ringing the doorbell, knocking on a door, something that has been foundational since doors were invented, is something that puts you at risk of your life. I think what we need to do is look at how race played a part, how race, particularly in our community, may play some part in creating fears, and try our best to address it. Because what the defendant describes is some scary person who's at his door. What you see in these pictures is anything but. And that it needs to be addressed because this was just wrong. And we need to make sure something like this never happens again.
Quickly, if you will, since you've been in contact with the family, can you give us an update on how Yarl's doing?
He's recovering, which is miraculous. He is verbal. He's talking about things. He has concerns relating to getting back to school. I had the fortune of talking to his mother. They are strong, strong people, but I don't think any of us as parents could understand, and if we haven't been through this, just the gravity of emotions they're going through. That's why this justice system takes on a very important step in the days ahead.